You want to bring this baby in?
Good morning, everybody, on this beautiful, brisk autumn day.
Wednesday.
And this is Coach Al Harris, along with Chad, the whiz kid Grimley, and Coach Chuck, the boss man Grimley. We're throwing the coach in there this week and everything.
Different title every week.
And this is Speaking of Sports. Lots of things going on, guys, between college football, pro football. Sixers even started a practice yesterday. You got the baseball races.
Yeah, late September, early October. What a great time of year, season for just about everything. Before we get started, talk about Albert and his 700th, but first things first, our most sincere, warm thoughts go out to anybody who is in line with the bad weather pattern, hurricane. The latest update is sounds like a devastating energy source. And the good news is there has been days of warning. Hopefully everybody has heeded the warning and been prudent about their decisions, and nobody has to prove that they can live through the hurricane and stay anchored. You gotta follow advice. But our warmest thoughts and to everybody on this
absolutely
situation.
Yeah, I have friends in that path there, and the biggest problem is they said it was going to turn west, and then yesterday it might turn east. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, the old saying goes, try to predict the weather, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And secondly, to really bring the house down and make sure we start with flatline here, but a dear friend and a very devoted listener who gives us a lot of feedback on the show, Tommy, had a very difficult loss with a relative in that fiasco down in Wildwood last weekend. I don't know what the world's coming to, man, but the stuff that's going on in the inner cities, the Wawa situation, Philadelphia shooting yesterday. You know, when you say you don't know what the world's coming to, you really don't. And now you feel a palpable fear. We were in the city Saturday night. It was bizarre. And I won't mention the restaurant, but the manager out front, security guy, very, very nice guy, he was telling me what they see now. And I don't feel safe coming into the city with my wife anymore. It's gotten to that point. And he said, I can't blame you. Because the stuff I see here, I shouldn't say it on 15th Street. A little bit of a hint. And then, don't you know, we hop in our car, we had the top down, and going home, we have this monster truck in back of us with an air horn, beeping his horn to make me go through a right on red, which you can't do. There's no right on red sign. And just the whole thing, and it's out of control. But
it's very unusual to hear a news broadcast that doesn't start off with a shooting or a riot,
yeah, and exponentially, it's getting worse per weekday. And when does it level? Is my question. Like, when do we come out the other side? Somebody saw a priest last night at dinner, and we were talking about this, and he says we're headed to almost like a revolution. He said this is the inner city. People are looking to disrupt and chaos and take back and law and order. And you hope that's exaggerated. But what happened down in Wildwood Saturday night, and Tommy's nephew was totally innocent with his fiance, just like we were in Philly. They were in Wildwood just about the same time, and they go through an intersection, and these hoodlums that were racing these cars and creating just T-boned them. And the fiance is going to make it. The nephew is deceased. Imagine getting that phone call. So now that we've got those two situations covered appropriately, let's segue to happier things. And
hopefully,
Albert is 700th. I got a comment on Albert just because I want to kind of raise the temperature a little bit in a good way. Here's an energy that Anaheim's got to love. Without boring everybody with the stats, if you look at his slash line for the Cardinals, and it's outrageous, okay? Chad may be able to find that as I'm articulating this. He then signs his contract with Anaheim, and it's a 10-year deal, and everybody says, I would never sign somebody like Pujols to a 10-year deal. And there are people that said, no, he'll still be very productive. Well, he's pretty darn productive this year. But here's the problem. If you take his current numbers right now, all right, his OPS and slug, it's currently higher than at any time he was with Anaheim. He's back to the Cardinal days of production. What does Anaheim? They can't catch a break, that organization. They got the 2 best players in the world. They drafted 21 pitchers last year. Before that, they had Rendon, okay, and a couple other major signings. They can't win a thing. And now Pujols goes there to be a superstar and put up those metrics, doesn't, and goes back to the Cardinals and is back to his old Cardinals / line. That's bizarre.
Must be something in the water.
It must be the water or the home cooking and say something, man. I studied that. I looked at it and I said, it can't be right. Like, I must be missing something. I'm talking about OPS of 860, slug of 524, and guess what? His numbers for Anaheim are in the 7s in OPS, not close on slug. I mean, right across the board, and then he hits the 700. How can he be this productive at the end is a question. He's a clean player. How's he pulling this off, Coach?
Well, like I said, maybe there's a lot of great restaurants in the St. Louis at the home cooking and the family there, but it's just amazing. And for a man, you could talk about him and Judge, 2 big, strong athletes. I mean, they've been tested through the years.
Yeah.
No PEDs. This is that. It's 2 great stories for baseball.
Wiz, what do you think about Pujols and Judge in the same week vying for
historic moment? We may never see 2 as historic moments going on at around the same time, like we're seeing right now with number 700 for Pujols and Judge chasing the AL record there. So it's really fascinating to watch, and even just watching Judge every night now, there is so many eyes on him. Every time he's up to bat, the whole stadium's got their phones out, and you can see he's definitely feeling some of the pressure. Probably he's still performing, but the pitchers are not pitching to him as much. I think yesterday he had 4 walks.
Yes, he did.
No one wants to be what one pitcher said. The answer to the trivia question of who did Judge hit number 61. Yeah. No pitcher wants to be that guy. And, I mean, statistically, probability-wise, it's still on his side to get the number 61 with, I think, 10 games or 9 games they have left right now.
Yeah, 9, I think.
So he should still get there and he should still pass it, but I think he's currently 8 or 9 games without a home run right now, which is definitely not what anyone expected.
Here's what's impressive about that. Where a lot of hitters chasing that record would increase their launch angle. What Judge has done in September is remarkable. Now, we did touch on this last week, so I'll go quick. 4.23 batting average, 5.66 on base, 8.72, 1.438 OPS.
For what, September?
September.
Yeah.
Okay? So what he has done is he has remained at the plate disciplined. They're throwing him off the black every pitch. He'll walk. He'll take the walk. Now, they're not saying, okay, it's a pitch around, we're throwing a foot off the plate. They're putting the ball on the black just by a ball off the black. He's taking every one of them. So that's why he's walking so much. His on base percentage is like in the 5s. So, and he's also chasing a triple crown. So to him, he could think, well, let me keep the batting average where I need to, focus on hits. I know I'll get the home run record, but I also would like to win the triple crown. So
now his
his
batting average has only dropped to 314 from 316. So
right.
he was 1 for 2 one night, 0 for 1 last night.
He's not getting many at bats. He's walking so much right now.
But that's the discipline. So I think he has demonstrated to the country that to the world that during this period, this transition where I'm chasing the home run record, I'm still going to be a great hitter to win games. And you have to underscore that point. He's done that.
Well, you know what I picked up last night, too, when they clinched the home field advantage, all that. Judge was so happy. There's no way he has any type of down look on his face about his record. It's genuine when he's celebrating that, they won the league.
Yeah, all around.
And one thing no one's talking about right now either is Atlanta's won 4 straight and is now tied for first with the Mets. So we have a really, really great finish there with who's going to win the division, the Mets or the Braves. And that's going to be really critical for the playoff format, as we looked at before. And both those teams, naturally, they want first place. You want to get that bye. And we're seeing a really great matchup here to end the season there.
Yeah, when we get to Phillies, I have a little bit on the Braves or the Cardinals. Who would they rather play? Before we get there, the game Monday night against Toronto, first base is open and Guerrero's up. And they pitch to him. Boone pitches to him. We've been saying this every single show. Why are teams pitching the most unlikely? They say, a guy back of him, Kirk, the catcher, is also hitting 280. Okay. Who is it, Kirk? As I say, who do you want up? You want Kirk or Guerrero? Come on now. And first pitch, smokes to the left field.
They're both Kirk's a higher batting average, so you can make the odds that a single loses the game. So you want the lower batting average. Now you could also say you're going to get a maybe chance of a ground ball. I mean, if I'm coaching, I'm probably walking to get. Wait, how many outs were there at the time?
There are 2 outs.
There were 2 outs. So you want the guy with the lower average because a home run wins the game, until you look at the splits against the pitchers in the hands.
How many times has Kirk, who the whole world has never even heard of, been in that situation versus Judge or Guerrero? I mean, come on now.
Well, that's what we'd have to look at. That's what I don't know. But just from the
pedigree, pedigree. Who do you want to pitch to?
Just from the pure batting average perspective, Kirk's a higher hitter.
That's where analytics is dictating the gameplay. Then it shouldn't be that way.
Well, it depends. You have to look at the hands and what's going on. I mean, Kirk with runners on second hitting 340 this year.
Okay,
that there is a pretty high number.
Al, you like play along. You've kind of done it all your life. So you be the assistant coach for the Yankees and tell me that we should pitch to Guerrero versus Kirk. Just say.
You know what I'm thinking too. Kirk is an excellent hitter. He's about 5'8", about 240.
Right.
He has no speed, so you can play the infield deeper, the whole thing, and get a force out somewhere or something like that.
Point. Yeah, but if you look at the high leverage numbers, late and close, 9th inning at bats, I'll bet you Judge's numbers are better.
Guerrero.
I'm sorry, I keep saying Judge. Why am I doing that? I'll just bet you Guerrero. First of all, he's been in a situation longer, 4 years so far. And when he bears down, when they say, like Jimmy Rollins used to say, when the red light is on, Jimmy Rollins is really good in that situation in the 8th or 9th inning with the game-winning line. I'm going to bet you Guerrero has better numbers than Kirk does. But regardless, in that situation right then, there's no way in the world, to your point, I can also play my infield deeper, have the force.
All right, so here's why. With the runner on second, Kirk is hitting 340 this year.
Oh, boy.
And with the runner on second, Guerrero is hitting 277. That's one of the major things they're going to look at right there.
You're right.
Now, I don't know what hand the pitcher was and look at those yet.
Yeah.
There's a few more things we have to look at.
Right hand.
But that's one thing that people look at. And that's not the only. You got to look at so if it's a right-handed pitcher.
Okay.
And Guerrero's hitting 280 versus righties.
All right. So we have 4,000, 5,000 people, devoted fans that listen to the show. Thank you very much for that. If you agree, if you would have pitched, to Guerrero versus Kirk, text me at 609-828-5569. And you may end up getting lunch out of it. You never know. I've been known to do that. Right, Coach?
Once in a while. Yeah.
We're moving on here to the Cards versus the Braves. Now, had a chance today to dive into this a little bit. I'm going to add some time back and save time right here. It's interesting statistical comparison between the two. They're very similar. So you look for the things that are dissimilar, okay? Because otherwise the teams are very compatible. Braves are 4.92 runs per game. Cards are 4.80, so on and so forth. The Braves strike out a lot, okay? 1428 Ks for the year versus the Cards, 1,100.
Big difference.
300. That's a big difference. 300 less Ks. You know how they grind at bats. You know how they work the ball the other way. But you know how they make contact. The Cardinals are the team, quintessentially, that can do that hit and run. Still has a place in baseball, Analytics says don't use it, but it has a place in baseball if your on base percentage is high. Cardinals win that too. They have higher walks, therefore they have higher on base. Again, it's close. And interestingly enough, and I think I could win some money today, the coffee machine on this one, The best OPS plus, as we like to say on the podcast, what team in baseball has the best OPS plus? The Cards. So offensively, we don't want to play the Cardinals because the Braves simply strike out more. On the other side of the game, pitching's very close, although the Atlanta pitching staff strikes 300 more people out. It's interesting that they earn back that 300 number there. When you look at defense, you go back to the Cardinals. Artot, Cards plus 23, defensive run saved. Braves plus 14. Don't forget our Phillies are minus 40 in that same category. That's unbelievable when you see Cards plus 33, Braves plus 14, Phillies minus 40. All things considered, I think since the Cardinals brought up all those young kids, and so did the Braves, but I think and the Phillies against the Braves this year are, 8-6 or 7,
Yeah, very
500? I don't think the Phillies want to play the Cardinals more so than the Braves. You guys chime in on that. Respond to that.
I really, if I'm the Phillies, I don't want to play the Mets. And so by doing that, I have to take the Braves, wherever they're at.
Yeah.
Now, the Phillies just don't have a lot of control,
You'd want to play
unfortunately.
the Dodgers.
No. The Phillies right now don't have a lot of control. They are the third seed regardless. So they're not playing the Dodgers. They're going to play the Mets or the Braves. Because the Padres, if they win, play the Dodgers. So the Phillies don't have any control. We're playing St. Louis. That's happening if we make the playoffs. Then if we win, we're either playing the Mets or the Braves, depending on how they fall right now.
Slow up, Wiz. I think I finally got you caught in the corner. If the Padres come down and the Phillies go up to 5 seed.
Oh, of course. But
Well,
that's
you
2.5 games. You're talking about 2.5 games.
You just said it can't.
I mean, it's statistically not likely. Yes.
Yeah, well, why don't you frame it that way so our listeners know
Yes, the Phillies
that
are
the
the
mere
6th
possibility exists.
They're 2.5 games behind the Padres for the second wild card spot. I
Right.
don't think anyone expects the Phillies to claim the second wild card spot with a week to go.
The Padres have had some losing streaks this year, but now the superstar is hot all of a sudden. Anyway, Al, who do you want to play for the Phillies?
I'll tell you what, it just stays in my mind, the Braves lineup. There's not an out in that lineup.
You don't want the Braves, right? Okay, so you want to go Cards, Mets.
Yeah.
So what Al's saying then is he wants the Mets to win the division. I personally want the Braves to win the division because the Phillies have matched up better with the Braves this year.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, all
Did
right, I
you
got
make
you.
that point? That
You look
the
at the playoff picture.
Braves win the division, we'll get Cardinals then Braves.
Correct. The Phillies, assuming they're the 6th seed, which is very likely, we'll
Right.
get the winner of the division if we beat the Cardinals, the Mets or the Braves. That's who we play next. Right now, the
forget-
Mets are I think they have the tiebreakers. They're
Yep.
the 2
Yep.
seed.
Good point.
We play them after we beat the Cardinals.
Always a good point. I forget that they are tied for the division. They being the Mets and the Braves.
Yeah, the Mets Braves are what we need
All
to
right,
watch for.
So you have that fluctuation. That's fluid. You got the situation with the Brewers, Phillies, and San Diego. But when it's all said and done, you'd still rather see the Phillies play the Cardinals.
Would it be safe to say a week from now we'll really be on top of this?
Yeah, well, at least we'll give everybody the options, right? And you don't want the Braves because
No,
you really want the
I
Mets.
do
You
want the Braves because the Mets have had our number all year. And the Braves, I think, are just as good as a team. But we've just done better against the Braves. And for whatever reason, whether it's luck or coincidence, I would rather play the team that we've done better against, although I personally think the Braves are a better team with the way they've been playing the second half. But I'd still rather take them because we've matched up better this year.
I watched the 4-game series super close on the micro level, and I said to Marion a couple times, I said, I'm getting disgusted. I am sorry, Jason. That's the inside. I knew I'd slip one in today, but I love you, buddy. Because I thought the Braves were going to come in and demonstrate the point we've been making on this podcast about they're unbelievable right now with their 7-run production, meek and mild. Now, their star's out. See what happens when all ships rise and go down at the same time. We're going to do a theory. We're going to do a study on that someday with the superstar being out. Look at the Yankees. Stanton comes back in. His mere presence, they go 10-2. It's just unbelievable what it means to the lineup, okay? And Acuna was out, in all fairness. But they swing at too many balls out of the strike zone now.
Yeah.
They chase.
So, and on that note, I'm going to make a quick comment.
Yeah.
The Yankees will be a postseason bust
Yeah.
/ disappointment.
They will be.
Reason being, they're 56-22 at home. They're
Yep.
39-37 on the road.
Yep.
I don't think there's any other team in the American League that's going to make the playoffs that has that poor of a road performance.
No. They're built for failure in postseason between the lack of home runs and the strikeouts and the better pitching. That doesn't match the Yankees model. You want to play the Yankees in postseason. They haven't hit in the second half, first of all. I mean, their offensive numbers are second to the worst in baseball.
Really?
Yeah, nobody knows that either. Only on this show, Speaking of Sports, do we publish this stuff, right? So between the three of us, we have all kinds of different opinions about what we want. I don't want to play the Cardinals. We're 500 against the Braves, and they strike out a lot, and we do have good pitching. Today's wins against average numbers, Bud. We're number 2 in starting pitching.
Yeah, that's hard to believe, but it's true.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I remember when we looked at that a couple weeks back, we were right there, 1 or 2. And it's hard to believe, but you look at the overall balance, we're there. Yeah.
Well, Wheeler and Noel drive that. But it's not wins against, it's not WAR. It's wins against
average.
The Phillies, so everyone is like, for instance, for the Phillies, JT's number 1 by a lot in that category. And it all makes sense when you compute. The Phillies starting pitchers are second in baseball.
It's very hard to believe.
It doesn't seem like when you're watching them, we have the second best starting pitching in baseball. But that's why when we played the Braves, we're 500. That's why we played the Dodgers, even though it was a small sample. We won more than we lost. St. Louis, same thing. Because when these pitchers have good games, you win. They're low scoring. So that's what keeps you in all these games. That's why these pitchers have dominated substandard opponents this year. We used to play 500. We were 20 games over 500 against the sub 500 teams or pitching. So that's good in postseason. If you get everybody in the Phillies hitting at the same time, but how do you lose 2-1 last night to the Cubs, Coach?
That's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Phillies disappointment.
They do.
I mean, right now, Harper looks like he's not capable of playing.
Why?
We can't lose these games to the Cubs.
Oh,
these
on.
are easy games. The Cubs have absolutely nothing to play for other than just the enjoyment of beating the Phillies and seeing them struggle in the playoff race right now. There's nothing that they're playing for, and we're struggling to beat them. We can't lose 2-1 against the Cubs. That can never happen. I mean, the pitchers are doing their jobs, and the offense is not.
Well, I'll tell you, you saying pitchers doing their jobs. I questioned very much Thompson last night, his choice in the relief.
I didn't see the game.
So
Wheeler and I were watching
Wheeler went 6.
new Netflix.
Wheeler went 6. They had said that they would probably go 75 to 80 pitches.
How
in
many?
6 innings, he had 52
They took him
pitches.
out at 52?
Yes. And they brought in Brogdon. And Brogdon gave up the right.
Come
Now,
on, Coach, what are you doing?
Now, see, that's being too protective because he threw 40 to 50 last week, and they projected that much more.
That's Joe Girardi.
52 pitches in 6 innings, the lowest he's ever done in his career for that amount of time.
Nobody babysits pitchers like we do.
Yeah, you got to let the guy throw. What are we saving Wheeler for? Do you want him to pitch in October or not? We need this guy to go now so he can get to October to play there.
Did anybody see what he was like on the mound? Was it graceful?
Well, it was 6 innings, 6 innings, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, 1 run, and 1 walk.
So he came out in between innings. Did he go out and get him? He came out in between. Yeah.
Which surprised me a little bit because I'm switching the channel a tiny bit, and all of a sudden I expect to see Wheeler in the 7th inning and you see Brogdon.
They were just to segue a little
Brogdon,
bit.
who came in, gave up a run. 1 inning, 1 run.
Right.
Yeah. They were talking on MLB yesterday about they had a guest on that was enlightening, and they were talking about the guy for Miami, the star pitcher,
Alcantara.
I don't know why. I can't get that whenever. And Mattingly, since he's been relieved of his duties. I like Mattingly, but you can't lose 34 one-run games and not have me be a critic of what you're doing. If you lose 35, whatever it actually is, one-run games, you better lead baseball in sacrifice, hit and run, suicide for sure. Because if I got a guy on second with the no outs, I'm going bunt over, suicide in, safety squeeze, whatever, every single time. Now, when I play all 1 games, right? I don't know if Manley did it. He didn't do it against the Phillies, okay?
I mean, baseball just doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well,
most
if it fits,
95%
you
of the
do.
teams.
And when you lose 70 or 36 one-run games. But anyway, the story, as it's told, the guest was saying that Manley was going to go out and get the star pitcher. And you'll say the name when I point it.
Alcantara, right.
And Alcantara told the catcher,
Oh.
if he comes out, I'm going to bust things up. I'm not coming out of the game. And everybody in the dugout knew it. And like, I hope Coach doesn't go out right now. He's not. He said if he brings me out with bases 2 guys on, 2 outs, and doesn't let me get out of this. And he started out, and the dugout was like, Coach, let him finish this, and he did. And they said that would have been the most interesting confrontation of any manager ever pulling a pitcher, because he had told us, I am not coming out. And I'm going to make it clear to the coach when he comes out.
Well, let me tell you what Alcantara's probably thought process is. You know how many times he's gone out with a 2-1 or 3-1 or 2-0 lead,
right?
And they take him out, and the reliever give it up. The runs are charged to him, and he should have been there.
So we pivot off of a 2-1 loss to the Cubs, and yet I think we're 2-1 against that guy this year. We hit him. Well, we beat him. We don't score a lot of runs against him, but we've won the games against him.
Is that Stroman?
No, the Alcantara guy.
Oh, Alcantara. Yeah. We've done very well against him. But
how?
But we've had great pitching. It's always
True.
gone into the
Keep the
7th
score
inning
down.
where it's 1-0, 2-1, and we're in the game.
Absolutely, positively, that's how it's gotten done. But what part of the Phillies do you dislike? What part do you like, guys, going into the playoffs?
I mean, the offense right now is a huge disappointment.
Dislike.
Well, we talked about it last week about changing that lineup around, and it was
Won't do
a
it.
fine time to do it, the 5-game losing streak, but they didn't do it, and
It gets
No,
worse.
our lineup
It
is
gets worse.
stuck right now. Schwarber and Hoskins in the 1-2 hole is such a mistake.
Yeah, it is.
When you have Stott yesterday 1 for 2 with a walk. Geez, how great would it be if your leadoff hitter was 2 for 3 on base? What'd Schwarber do? 0 for 3 with a walk. I mean, it's like this almost every night. You can look at an example and say Stott or Segura should be leading off
you see the
instead
hits.
of Schwarber,
Right.
who hits 42 home runs right now and be great in that 4 hole or 5 hole because JT's so hot.
Coach,
and it's not happening.
He hit 2 home runs, and his WAR went down. It's 1-2 right now. If you look, buddy, it was 1-6. His WAR went down. He can't even do that.
but he's going to lead the league in home runs.
Because if you have 2 home runs and your WAR goes down, that means you had to stake the joint out defensively and do nothing else for the run production. And he had the stuff he did in left field the last 10 days.
Yeah,
Just
we've been through
unbelievable.
that too many
Yeah,
weeks.
we beat that to death. Let's get off of Kyle Schwarber today. What do you like? Wiz likes the pitching. What do you dislike? What do you like, Coach?
With the Phils you're talking
Yeah.
about.
What are you optimistic about?
I'm optimistic, thinking of the future with Painter and Abel, and now with Bohm and
But how about
Stotts.
this year's?
This
playoff
year's,
team?
I just don't like we talked about. You can't have 2 guys that strike out so much and everything back to back to start off games. I mean,
Right.
it just doesn't make sense at all. Even if Harper was hot, what's he going to have, a double or triple or a 1-run home run? Because they're never on base.
Here's what's hard to do if you're an aficionado of box scores. I am very passionate about box score construction. I love it. Every single night, every single morning. Yeah, I know, get a life. I do have a pretty full life, would you say, Coach? But
I would say so.
I love those box scores. When you see, to Chad's point, JT, 2 hits, almost a lot of games in September. Look up his averages, right? Stott has gotten better. So don't look at his year to date. What's it matter if he's hit better in September? When you see the guys with 1 and 2 hits in back 1 and 2, and nobody's on base, how wasted are those 5 or 7 hits in back of 2 guys that got on base once by a walk? Usually,
Well, Bohm's in
right?
the top 5 of multiple hit games in the league.
and nobody's on base.
Yeah.
So we are constructing kind of a self-destructive lineup by having such low on base percentage 1 and 2. If you do Harper and Schwarber's on base percentage, Bud, in September, I'd love during the show if you can mine that out. I'd love to see that number in September. I could be wrong, over under. I'm going to give you numbers. Chad does his diligent research. You can hear it going. I'm going to say their on base percentage, which, as you know, below 300 is really, really low. I'm going to say their on base percentage below 255.
Wow.
Where are you going, over under, Coach?
Boy, the way you're talking about, I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under for September for Schwarber and Harper,
Yeah.
right? Because we were saying Hoskins, but Harper's been batting too often. We could do it any way you want, actually. We close?
Yeah, I have it. So Schwarber for September has a 320 on base percentage.
On base percentage?
And
Shocking.
Harper has a 289.
300. Okay, which is not good, but it's higher than they thought. How about Hoskins?
Hoskins has, where is he? Here he is. Hoskins has a 284.
Okay, so they're below National League average.
Meanwhile, Segura has a 360.
Yeah. Stott.
I'm sorry. Nope, Segura's a 313. I read the slug.
Okay.
He's got a 313.
Okay.
And Stott's got a 304. Bohm is 311. Not the highest on base percentage for any of these guys. I mean, offensively, we're seeing September. It hasn't been a
Maybe
great
part of
performance.
the problem is nobody else is so remarkable that they have to make the change. Leave it.
You know, it's just in the back of my mind right now. I'll throw it out. Chad, sometime when you get a chance in your very, very busy life, we've had a lot of games pulled out this year by the 8th and 9th DH hitter at the end of the lineup with your Veerling here.
Oh,
And do that for the whole year, I think would be astonishing. Stubbs way back, remember, a couple times, walk off
well,
thing.
in the wins against average that we're talking about, which is why I like it slightly more than WAR. I think it's a little more definable, a little more articulate. They have pinch hit and bench value in it. And I don't know where we rank. We should rank above. Everything goes to, ladies and gentlemen, everything goes to league average. Obviously, you have to be above league average to be good, right? So they put in there league average, and then you see if you're above or below. We have to be above league average in pinch hitting, and or those guys that get an opportunity, the young kids that get into the lineup. I mean, Verling and Marsh is at a 5-hit game.
Tom before he was playing right field.
How about Marsh in September, bud? All right, first give us what you have in the WAA there.
Marsh, I have Marsh up right here.
God, you're quick into the next one.
Marsh in September is hitting 290 with a 304 on base percentage.
Okay.
So it's good. He's hitting for some average, but he only has one walk in 56 plate appearances, which will totally blow up in the postseason.
Yeah, but I'll take the 290. You know what you never see done, Coach? You never see a manager like us amateurs do say, I'm going to play a lineup card that reflects the hot hand. For the last 2 weeks, Coach Al is hitting 340, lefty and righty. I'm going to move you up.
Certainly.
Because I call that diluting the strength. If you're going to give me that ROI, return on investment, I'm going to make sure I have you up there to do it. Now, if I dilute you, so be it. But I'm not going to watch you bat eighth and hit 340, 360. Yeah. I can't. I did that when I was coaching my entire career. Somebody gets hot downstairs, I'd have a conversation with he or she, and say, "Are you comfortable? I'm going to move you up." You know, most of the time it was like, "Where, coach?" And if you said lead off, I'd get no thanks. Nobody, They'd bat fourth. Nobody wanted to bat lead off.
But the point is, and then if they went cold a little bit, then you adjust.
Yeah, you adjusted. But I can't watch you get 3 hits batting eighth. It's just unconstitutional. So Phillies are going to make the playoffs, and how are they going to do? Bottom line was,
I think they're going to
second round
win. Yeah, go out in the second round. They'll lose second round.
That would be progress, Coach.
That would be progress. Yes.
Agreed. Chatty, agree?
No, we can't be happy with that. We have Bryce Harper on a massive long-term contract, and he's in year 3 or 4? Yeah. And we've talking about making the first time in the playoffs and going out in the second round. No, can't be happy with that. Not knowing how good the Braves are going to be next year, what the Mets are looking like. No,
I think we have to take into consideration Harper missing 2 months. So
the Phillies did better with him out, though. That's the problem.
How about that?
They did so good.
Why is it that an analytic you trust? Okay, the Phillies play better without Harper. Yeah, try sitting him. So we're gonna pivot off of 7, and I just got to ask, how unimpressive are the Brewers? Both of you. I mean, do they ever seize the moment? The Brewers. I mean, the Phillies lose in the afternoon. They lose at night. They don't go in a string of 4 straight. You look at their numbers, and they're up there above league average in pitching, way above, but yet it doesn't translate to
I
wins
think
and losses.
word dog's coming to my mind
Yeah,
a
I
little
think
bit.
so.
They are dogging it.
Yeah, if you look at their averages in their lineup, it's not good.
No.
I mean, even Yelich, who used to be an
Right.
absolute powerhouse, is
Beast.
down to 250.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever team sneaks in, the Milwaukee or Phillies, both of those, they should be out in the first round, but I'm just hoping the Phillies surprise and maybe
Let's
win
talk,
that first
before
round.
we switch to football, let's talk about my boy Joey Meneses, the 11-year minor league guy coming up for the Nats. Bring him up, bud. I think he's 335. I'm going to say 415 or higher. Slugs 5 and OPS 9. This is crazy. This is a guy they must have missed because you can't come up and play a quarter of the season, hit that much, and he hit in the minors. He has an unbelievable year in the minors, and convinced me he should not have been up sooner. Do you have an updated
Yeah,
slash?
this is kind of weird. He in the Nationals this year, 48 games, he's hitting 326 with a 941 OPS. And in the minors this year, 96 games, he hit 286. Last year with Boston, he hit 284 with an 860 OPS. When he was
better than that.
in 2018, he was in the Phillies system.
Yes, he was.
He hit 311 with
Yes.
an 870 OPS. Why did no one ever give this guy a shot?
So I went right to defense, saying this guy must be a cow. He can't make any plays defensively whatsoever. And I don't think I saw horrific defensive numbers. Wiz is going to prove me right or wrong.
I don't know about the minors defense. I don't have
No,
that up
they
here.
don't have it, but
But I mean, either way, who cares?
Yeah, who cares,
if it's
right?
if you're hitting in the
Yeah.
minors, bring it up to the big leagues and see what you can do.
yeah,
I'm trying to remember. I think I mentioned him last week or the week before that he impressed me at the plate.
yeah.
And he was playing right field. Am I right or wrong with that? But he also made a hell of a throw one night to third, so it wasn't that he had no arm. But
And last but not least, yeah, you're right. I've seen him play good defense, but it's small sample size. Hats off to Tito and those amazing Guardians that were picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the division. And every year, doesn't that son of a gun claw his way? They win the 4-3. They play the balanced scale game. Never spectacular. 27th in payroll. 27th in OPS. They just pick at you. Pitch, close. Man, what a closer.
I'm just gonna say it. I called that one at the beginning of the
You did.
year.
In the
I was on
beginning
top of the
year,
Guardians
Wiz had this.
because I think that Jose Ramirez is an absolute beast, and he is. And then I saw Stephen Kwan and how good he was, and
What
he's
a player.
never stopped. He's
My
been
favorite
so,
guy.
so good.
My favorite
3
guy
for 5 last night with a walk and an RBI. I mean, talk about a leadoff hitter.
You want to see a guy go 1st to 3rd. You want to see a guy get a secondary lead. You want to see a guy play defense. There's a player that does all things, not power, but just complements the game in every possible way. He's a gamer. He's high energy. He's good in the clubhouse, the dugout. Boy, when you're putting his name, what's he, 24, bud? You're going to write his name.
He's young.
At bat leadoff for the next 12 to 15 years. And it looks like everybody's the same. Look at their box score. 278, 325, 278 through 280.
Yeah.
They're all batting 278 with a 330 on base percentage.
well, when you don't see them too often, you don't realize how good they are.
I think they could win the World Series. I know you're going to tell me I'm nuts. On this date, I want a time stamp. The Guardians can win the World Series because they play every facet. They'll put the ball in play. They don't strike out. They walk. They're good defensively. They hit cuts. They go 1st to 3rd. They play. What's it
Are
sound
you
like
trying
the
to tell me they're
old-fashioned-
fundamentally sound?
Yeah, why not trying to say that? I mean, and the White Sox and Twins, they ought to hop on a boat and sail and never come back again. How can the Twins construct a lineup like that? That had 260 home runs last year, and the White Sox look like the All-Star team. I mean, oh man! But it's time to talk Eagles football.
No, it's actually kind of funny when you look at these numbers real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stephen Kwan versus Kyle Schwarber
Yeah,
for the year.
listen to this, guys.
Kwan's
Ladies.
got a 301 batting average, Schwarber 212. On base, Kwan's 380, Schwarber 313. Slugging 402 for Kwan, 485 for Schwarber, and OPS 780 for Kwan and 798 for Schwarber.
How about that?
OPS plus, though, is higher for Kwan than Schwarber, despite the fact that Schwarber has 42 home runs and Kwan has 6.
Good catch.
6 home runs.
Speaking of sports, if you're still with us at this time of the podcast, imprint that and get it out to
If you
want to
see a leadoff hitter,
amazing.
Stephen Kwan, 56 strikeouts this year in 140 games. Kyle Schwarber's got 193 strikeouts in 147 games. That is disgraceful.
That is
There's no other way to describe how embarrassing that is.
But the one stat you just mentioned sounds illusionary. Like
the OPS plus,
you festooned that. That can't be true.
Kwan's OPS plus is higher than Schwarber's, and he's got
5'4", 140,
36 less home runs than him.
What's his size and weight? What do they list him at?
I don't
player profile. Yeah,
he's 5'9", 170.
Yeah,
and he's got a better OPS plus than Schwarber.
I mean, this is the intrigue of box scores and data that I dive into every day. And I'll tell you, you can have some tough days in the business world, and I go get an iced tea and park under a tree, and I'll just do 20 minutes of research. And boy, the voyages I've had, you just find stuff that's just remarkable. If you like that stuff. How about these birds? 3-0. I definitely think they're the best team in the NFC. I know that sounds like a crazy, hyperbolistic. Nobody else matches up with them in the NFC. There's no doubt in my mind. Hurts' improvement because he wants to be better is unbelievable. Look at his skill positions. Those two receivers, I still think they get the best running back in football. Easy schedule, which gives them home field. They just leverage all that right to the Super Bowl. I'm sticking with that, barring injury.
It's ironic, too, that we would have thought that not this fourth game would be a pivotal game. And it is as far as Peterson coming back, Robert. And they really played great, Jacksonville, last week. And, they've got Lawrence, who looks like he's finally coming. When he came out of Clemson, he was advertised as a 10-year player type of thing.
Sure.
And they have they've built up around him. They've done some trades, and of course they have had good draft choices for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So I think I'm very, very much looking forward to this game to see how Lawrence does against the Eagles defense, because he's not going to be caught in the middle like Wentz did, all those times.
Don't tell me that Coach Peterson doesn't have some advantage here knowing Hurts defensively, right? So, I mean, it's one thing for him to be that effective against the other teams. You talk Washington's in the division, they flat stick. But Peterson knows his proclivities. He can give his defense some very specific things, nuances, what to look for. I think what Peterson will do is contain Hurts. I think he's been averaging 65 yards rushing per game. I think they hold him down under that number.
It's ironic you said that Peterson knows his proclivities, and I don't even know what the word means.
Yeah, tendencies, habits, what it does. In this situation, RPS and all that kind of stuff. Somebody explained to me how it could possibly be 43 minutes into the podcast already. Let's not skip, however. The Eagles haven't scored in the second half. Problem?
I don't believe they've scored a point in the last quarter in all 3 games.
Yeah, but you're also nursing.
So you got to take in consideration that Hurts is letting the clock get down to 5 or 6 seconds and so forth. When you're leading, that's what you want to do. Right. And I don't think they've opened up the offense a lot because they haven't had to. So it's going to be interesting to see a battle of wits, put it this way.
Given the pedigree and the bloodline down there in Alabama, the coach, the legacy, the whole environment, and what Hurts did for both Alabama and Oklahoma, you're not one bit surprised at this, are you, Chad?
No, I've really been a huge advocate, and a lot of us have.
Same here.
Since the beginning.
Yep.
And I think that Hurts is an unbelievable athlete, and he's proven now that he's also an extremely gifted quarterback. He's reading defenses. He's not. He is in control of the situation. When he was 4th and goal for the second half, I believe, and he made that audible, I'm pretty sure that was all on him, if I remember hearing that correctly.
It was.
That was his decision. It was a play not in their playbook.
Right.
but they've practiced before, and he said, hey, we're going to run this play. And it didn't look great when it was developing. That back throw and what was it? Who went up and got it?
Brown said, I'm not sure.
Smith, right? Yeah. Smith goes up and gets it in the corner.
Yeah.
That is just a very, very intelligent play for Hurts to read the defense and say, hey, no, we got this. And he did that. So he's proving that he's now possessing all of the abilities that you want in a quarterback. You know, you got to be able to read the defense, smart enough to see what's going on out there, assess the plays, make the adjustments, and then make the plays, though. You have to have the physical abilities to do that. And people criticize him, his arm's not good enough. His arm looks fantastic to me.
Oh, you kidding me?
It looks great out there.
Definitely has quicker release and better ball speed.
Well,
It looks great.
If he did that play last year, the naysayers would say, you got to take the 3 in that situation. I mean, it was a great pass, and like you said, a tough catch.
Yeah.
It was good coverage.
Does anybody remember the name of the pitching coach that he went to in the offseason?
It was that QB. It was that like 3D QB camp that Brady went to. All good quarterbacks have gone there, and it's really big to see Hurts do that and then come out though and then perform like this because right now he looks. Right now, there is not a quarterback under 25 years old I would take right now over Hurts.
What's there not to love about Hurts? And I called the radio when they drafted him, and I said, Howie, this will end up being the best thing you've ever done draft-wise for the Eagles. Just talking radio land and asking, blew me off. And, they were, he didn't make it Alabama. No. He threw 71% at Alabama. But there was another sort of political connection with Tua and his brother and dad and performance. But remember when they put Hurts back in when he got hurt, what he did to win the championship. I mean, this guy's a winner. His dad's a coach, great mentor. They got together and said, do you believe these insults we're hearing? We're going to work and you're going to get better. And that's what they've done. And now he can run. He can still run. I mean, this guy has a chance to throw north of 70.
I'm going to tell you what a great thing is, too, Chuck. He is in control of the locker room. Every report I've seen, and you've got your Brandon Grahams, your Fletcher Cox, your Jason Kelsey, but they love him and respect him so much that he has control at his young age of that locker room.
What about the pass last week was where what receiver went up and if they
that was Smith too.
If they had replayed it, it was a bobble.
Smith on the sideline. He didn't get his second foot down.
The trajectory of the ball to be there. You always watch it play and say, that's not going to work. You just do that. And the ball's in the air, and I'm going, no, that can't happen. And then when they ruled in, I was like, it had to be a bobble. What ends up being it was a bobble. I've been Washington not being quick enough.
They should have challenged.
Come on, Washington.
And then Rivera said he had the flag out, but he didn't have it out in time to replay Soda.
You got enough time. One of their assistant coaches is standing 5 feet away from the out-of-bound line. Come on. You can't miss those things. What's there not to love about Hurts and the team and their whole thing, the morale, the loyalty of the coach? I love when the coach talks. I just think that best record and we'll get them home field, and the Rams don't come in to Philly and beat them. And I don't think Green Bay and Tampa.
So I think we have a bit of a pass on the Rams this year. Not like we couldn't play them, but I think they are on a bit of a letdown after that. I mean, what the Rams did last year was almost spiritual. How good they were.
Good word.
It
was
word,
spiritual.
It reminds me of the Phillies in 08 when they won. Right. Not like competition wise, but the Bengals are a young
Tampa
team
instead of the Yankees.
Yeah,
right.
But regardless, the Rams were so good last year, and we know that it's virtually impossible to repeat. So just assume they won't. You got to assume they won't repeat.
Then you're Tampa, Green Bay.
Then you're Tampa, and right now Brady looks like he can't throw. Not say he can't throw a football, but he looks so distracted out there. And he probably is. I mean, hey, if Giselle isn't happy, that's going to upset a lot of men.
That's a distraction.
If that was your wife.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big distraction right there.
I wonder if she'll be home when I get there. Yeah.
And who's the other team in the
Green Bay?
Green Bay. And
Rodgers wants out.
You never know. You never know what you're going to get with Green Bay. If you get Green Bay at home, they're really tough. If you can get them on the road, though, they're very beatable. So I think that's going to be a really big factor.
Soft
right
on the road. Soft on the road.
The tough part with Green Bay is their defense. Their defense does look for real this year.
Yeah,
they have looked really good to contain Tampa like they did last week.
I'll tell you,
I right now, I think the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFC.
Thank you. We all
I
agree
really
on that.
do.
So, podcast, we are on record on this date, Wednesday. What's 11:57?
And it's worth saying, all of us said this, think the Eagles are, 12, 13, maybe 14 wins this year?
Yeah.
And Vegas had them at 8.5, 9.
Yeah, crazy.
I mean, that looked like the most ill-balanced thing we've ever seen.
And it's still at 9.5.
Is it still at 9.5 today after 3-0?
And they got them as dogs twice in 2 games. They'll be favored. They got them as a dog when Green Bay comes here. No way. They're healthy. They're a dog to Green
What's
Bay.
like a 1-point line?
Yeah.
It can't be big.
But Green Bay's not a favorite here.
Yeah, it's just the Rodgers factor.
But if you're handicapping it yourself, Chad Grimley, what are you going to make the line?
I'd probably make Rodgers a slight favorite.
Al,
right
what are you
now.
making the
I
line?
probably
Green
would.
Bay here.
I'd say 1.
Next
Green Bay
Sunday.
1.
Oh, it's a 1.
I think so, yeah.
Guys,
I think
drop your mics.
I think we're missing the
off.
point. It's a small line. What's the other one?
At Dallas, of course.
See,
Yeah.
that should. Oh, wait. Prescott will be back by
Yeah.
then?
Oh, yeah, he'll be back.
Even with him back, we should be a favorite at Dallas.
agree.
We should be a favorite, I think.
Now, Dallas's defense is formidable. I watched him close Monday.
They do look good right now with Zeke. And who's their backup running back? Is it Pollard?
Yeah.
He looked pretty good the other day.
It's a good
and
tandem.
Obviously, C.D. Lamb out there.
And
despite
Lawrence.
the fact that he dropped wide open pass, is a
the
great
guy
receiver.
Lawrence. You can't block that guy, Lawrence.
No, defensively,
Lawrence.
You
they're
can't block
strong.
him. You can't. And the other guy,
Well, that guy couldn't.
the other night, the guy who's the star, the linebacker, what's his name, Parsons, or whatever.
Micah Parsons.
I don't think he had to play, but they were still so fearful. He changed the whole scheme of everything. You got
When you
five
see
guys
him,
got to block
when
him.
you see him start the outside, and he goes
Yeah.
up the middle, and 2 people have to block him.
Yeah.
Opens it up for everybody
So
else.
if they stay healthy, their defense is formidable. So what we're talking about here is the Eagles are not an underdog all year. Yeah, it's 12 wins. It's 13 wins. They'll trip up somewhere. The college football, is Rutgers a fraud?
Let me
How
interject
about
to
Rutgers
college
being a fraud?
football. If
They are
we're
fraud.
not forgetting it, folks, but 2 teams dropped out of the top 10 last week, Oklahoma and Arkansas. So you still got the big boys haven't played each other a whole lot, but watch a game this week. The young man from Timber Creek down here in South Jersey, Devin Leary, who last week threw for 4 TDs and 350 yards or so.
What team?
They're playing Clemson this week, so
Who? What team?
North Carolina State.
I didn't
Sorry,
say that.
I didn't say that. Yeah, North Carolina State, and he's quite a proficient passer. Was a great high school player.
Yeah.
And we'll see if he can do anything
What's the
against
line?
Clemson.
What's the line? Do you know the line?
No, I haven't
think
seen it yet.
Clemson stinks too this year. You have bona fide formidable teams. You have Bama, Georgia,
Ohio State.
Ohio State. You could put a sickle and float out all the other teams.
I think you're right.
Tell me, Wiz, I know you don't watch college football ardently, but who's the 4th team that's really good?
I don't know.
You don't watch it.
Number
I don't
4, right?
follow college close enough.
Full disclosure, transparency.
All right, I'll give you the top 10 right now.
No. Just give me the 4th team. Give me the
Michigan.
team.
That's who's 4th right now.
Yeah, it's just Notre Dame. Are they back in the top 25? They had a big win.
They should be in the top 400.
Chad's never going to miss a high fastball Notre Dame boy.
No.
No.
I'm going to say one last thing on the Eagles. They're going to be 9-0 or 8-1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to beat the Jags. They may lose against the Cardinals if the Cardinals figure it out. They're going to beat the Cowboys at home, beat the Steelers at home, beat the Texans on the road, and beat the Commanders. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 more games. That's 9-0 or 8-1 right there, I think.
I'll tell you, the way football games, you look at the final score. Buffalo, Miami, great game, right? Dolphins win, right? I don't know if you kept my text or not. In that game, if you love box scores, look at that box score. You're going to see Buffalo first downs, and Chad will probably catch up to me. I believe it was like 32-16 disparity, right? Total yards in the game, I'm rounding now. 500 for Buffalo.
Correct. Versus 200 for Miami.
200 for Miami.
Yep.
And there's one more. Total plays, 90?
90 plays for Buffalo
Listen,
and 39 for Miami.
You show somebody that box score and say, can the team on the right prevail and win? And you're going to say 100 out of 100? No, which is what makes sports, and particularly football, so great. Now, you may say the only reason Buffalo won that is because Miami must have turned the ball over 6 times.
Or Buffalo, but they didn't. There was one fumble
That's
loss,
it.
no interception. How did Buffalo not win this game?
Special teams, drop punt.
Is there a drop?
Field goal. I mean, you had.
I think they had one play where they were about to go in and score, fumbled. Miami picked it up and did a lateral and went the whole length of the field. Instead of Buffalo scoring,
But wait a minute, I'm back on Chad's question, because if it's a drop punt, like I said, that's a turnover. There's one turnover. So somebody who watched the Buffalo-Miami game, because I was going back and forth, I saw some of it. I saw about 9 plays. Saw the end on that crazy channel 861. How the heck did Miami win this game? I mean,
It was a crazy comeback, but I don't know. I don't know how Buffalo scored that much. Got
Well,
that
they
many
had
yards
500 yards.
got that many 500 yards of offense and didn't score more than
Didn't
19
score
points.
more.
I do have to watch that recap now because I didn't know that balance.
Yeah.
That is a massive
It's
discrepancy and really shocking how Buffalo lost that game.
for someone who does box scores, I will submit that as my top 10 lopsided.
Given
Yes,
the
if you
score,
will.
unless the score was 35.
Box score.
you know,
Wiz, how
32 or
many
something.
turnovers did Buffalo have?
There's
Buffalo, well, Allen had no interceptions, so there was just one fumble.
Fumble.
That's it.
But you're looking at Miami because they were the ones. Buffalo.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. Yeah, it's mystifying. So I know Tommy is going to give us the answer to all this. So we all agree top 3: Bama, Georgia, OSU. This week, is it Missouri that plays Georgia? Mizzou is going to play Georgia. I think it's plus 17.5. Bobby Crow took OSU, is right? Chad is
Georgia.
Georgia as lock of the year. Good luck, Bobby, with that. Not so much. Is it rant or rave time?
It's. I think we should rant and rave, and I want to add one more stat into that Miami
Sure.
game.
Let's capture everything.
Miami had 5 punts in that game. Buffalo had 1. So it's not like they were getting the ball down and punting it.
All right. So
it's really a miracle.
us analytics guys by now should have said something else. The offset. Look at third down conversion.
11 for 18 for Buffalo.
No, for Miami, because other ones that came up.
3 for 8.
Oh, they won. No, they won. Right.
3 for 8.
Now Buffalo's the one that had all the yardage, not the score.
They've
You're
converted
right.
on third. 11 for 18.
11 for 18.
Yep. And 2 for 3 on fourth downs. I mean, they were there. It must have been drives that went.
Are we
into
stumped?
How'd
Is
you
the
like to
power-
have one of your deep sleeps and wake up and somebody give you all those statistics?
And you bet it.
And they said,
But
and
you
you know
lost.
what?
And you lost.
I like Miami. You say, what?
Yeah. Well, we're going to tell you every week, guys, and that's the reason we don't give out picks. A lot of people have texted me, why don't you guys give out a teaser? Because they know I used to love teasers and stuff like that. We don't advocate gambling your hard-earned money at all. So we won't do that. We'd like to. We think we'd be pretty hot so far this year because we have a little club that we do. It's not gambling. It's just points and a dinner at the end of the year. Seafood Tower. It's a lot of fun. You should hear about it. But we don't want to give out winners. We don't want you gambling. It's bad. And a game like that, you put your money on Buffalo, you had the right side, and you paid because you lost. And we should rant and rave because we're definitely past our 45, and we're going to coach.
All right, I'm going to give it a little rave. I'm going to go a complete 360 here to the WNBA, which is the Women's National Basketball Association. We have a gal from South Jersey named Cheryl Reeve. She's won 4 titles as a coach of the Minnesota Lynx. She's also the general manager out there now. She had a great career at Washington Township High School, All-State. She played on 4 teams at LaSalle under the old legendary William Speedy Morris. They had 89 wins in her college career, and she's now the coach of the women's team at the FIBA Championships in Australia. So a shout-out to a local girl who knocked them dead in the basketball game.
Everybody was against Hurts. In business, sometimes you're not given audience to tell the real facts and narrative and true story. In a good way today, we had that opportunity. But Hurts was written off. Everybody was against the move. Why would you waste the number 2 pick and see how you feel at the end of the season when he's more than likely the MVP of the league and takes us to a Super Bowl? Be patient. Give these players a chance to get some maturity and experience. Grooming a quarterback is out 3 to 5 years. Look at the other guys.
And he's going to have a half-decent week once in a while, maybe a bad week. Don't come down and say, I told you so. Just go in the overall performance.
Just take a deep breath. Allow it to play out, just like we did with Kyle Schwarber. We were patient.
Real patient.
That's not much of a rant. But everybody jumps on and off these bandwagons, so fast, Allow things to play. Let the cake bake. Wiz?
Well, I have a rant-rave combination.
Good.
It's actually a 2-in-1. It's a rave on the Eagles by ranting on the Cowboys. Because I have never seen a more undisciplined team than the Dallas Cowboys.
Amen.
Just watching that game Monday night, every 10 seconds, there is a holding call. Something is going on in that team. Or a personal foul. There's a penalty. They are so undisciplined. And this isn't unique to this year. This has been for years now, which is a good thing for the Eagles because when we play them, that's naturally will help us. But how do year after year this team put together the most undisciplined group of players I've ever witnessed in my life? I can't understand it. It should be an anomaly, but it happens year after year, and that's all I have.
It's like the Oakland Raiders out was part of their culture. Personal fouls, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Well, they didn't learn in jail. They didn't learn in jail and everything when they come back to play for the Cowboys, and the Raiders.
It's and we did not say that all Cowboys have gone to jail.
No, not all of them.
A lot of. It's just the thing is that they sign a lot of former guys who've had problems.
Yeah. It is a culture, and that's why it starts at the top.
Well, let me throw this in at the end. Culture. The Eagles have had 35 penalties in 3 games. That's the most they've ever had in a 3-game thing starting off the year, and 13 of them have been pre-snap.
Yeah, pre-snap.
So you got to clean up that.
Yeah.
There, you can't give the advantage away there.
Wiz, how do they get a hold of us?
All right, same as always, our website, speakingofsportspod.com. Our email, speakingofsportspod@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, the Speaking of Sports Podcast, on Facebook. YouTube is Wildfire Podcast, and that's where we find all the information. Check us out on any of the podcast platforms. We're on all of them, all the big ones. Or you can text Chuck. He's 609-828-5569. And we'll be back probably next Friday, I think.
Yeah, Friday.
So
I took Bill out to lunch this week. Somebody got a hold of me a month ago, and we just back and forth. We had a delightful lunch and very stimulating conversation about baseball and lifetime baseball guy, but very smart, very up to savvy in football. And boy, talk about an hour and a half going quick. Capitol Grill, nice lunch, new acquaintance, new friend, new listener, and just the fact that comes out of this thing that we do every week is really neat. I had a blast, and thanks, Bill, for your time. So, once again, get a hold of me. I love it. 609-828.
Let me throw this in. Chad, have a great weekend. Chad's got a bachelor weekend this weekend. Some golf and
you guys are.
I don't know what we were gonna go to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, but that's been canceled now with the hurricane coming in. There's some coastal flooding that we're concerned about. We're pretty close to the beach, and what their governor's saying, we've decided to just not get there and be stuck and have flights canceled coming home and risk that. So I think we're going to the Poconos or AC, but we're still working on those details today.
Can I take 30 more seconds to embarrass my son here? So I called him last night. We had some other things we had to talk about, business and a few other things, and that was like 5th. And by the way, he gave me a very good recommendation for Netflix.
It's a good show.
Yeah. So I said, but I'm sorry about the plans. You don't ask for much. And it was great to get down there and golf. All his friends were committed. Dinner, golf, paintball wars, whatever. And
a few cocktails.
And I said, I'm so sorry. I feel sad that you guys can't do it. And he says to me, Dad, against the landscape, the bigger picture of the potential loss of life in Florida and what they're dealing with, how on earth would I be selfish enough to complain about it? He goes, sure, I would have loved it to take place. And maybe the Poconos won't be all the fun that Carolina.
Well, he's much too intelligent to not have made that decision.
Yeah, but it's as a dad, it was
a tough one too.
I said, have that perspective was good. I commend you, but you'll still have fun.
We'll make the most of it.
You'll make the most of it.
It's a tough call because you had to do it in advance because it's not even hitting the Carolinas till the weekend.
Right.
You don't know what it's going to do when it hits the coast, if it's going to go left or right or slow down, speed up. So we just had to deal. We finalized it this morning. This is just what we're seeing right now. We can't foresee a way where we're down there
New
doing
York. You want to hear?
I don't
me?
like New York that
What?
much.
I can't. How did DNA, Coach? How did my son not like New York?
There
that
isn't
dad worships.
There is not a restaurant in New York that I can't top locally around here.
How about that?
Oh, wow.
How about
You
that?
give me one, I'll top it.
Well, I want to know one thing.
Route 57.
Vincenti's in Delaware. Or Aldo's is another great restaurant.
I just gave Adams a plug.
Capitol Grill.
Did he?
I'm just talking the top restaurants. Capitol Grill's a good one.
They've crossed the bridge. Ocean Prime.
Ocean
right?
Prime.
Del Frisco's.
I'm not huge on Del Frisco's.
Not me either anymore. No. Yeah, that's fair. Atmosphere wise, Route 57. But boy, the food.
Yeah, you
Sushi,
can't beat
steaks,
views and
and
stuff.
Italian. You can't get that too many places.
All right, I'm getting hungry, folks. We're going to lunch.
Let's go some lunch.
All right,
Everybody
thank you.
have a great week, a great weekend. Stay safe down south. God bless you all. That's a wrap.
Bye.